I started.
All right. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the first session of 15 Minutes with the Mobile Prof. So I am one of the facilitators that will be taking you on this journey. It will be 15 minutes every day, and then we will be teaching you how to use Linux, how to be comfortable in the Linux terminal, how to use the mobile phone on a Linux terminal with enough knowledge to make you comfortable being able to create content from your mobile phone, both HTML content and programming content. We'll eventually show you what the curriculum will be like and how far or how much we would take. Meanwhile, let's go straight ahead to the presentation for today because we only have 15 minutes. So to start off the presentation, I would share my screen. I created a little document that we can look at. All right, so the mobileprof.com is the website that is our service website that we use to offer the training program. So the 15 minutes with the mobile prof will be working with closely with two facilitators. One is Samuel Anyaile, the other one is Karen Hapoka Choja. So the idea being that we'll take different sessions in the 15 minutes and we both work with the mobileprof.com. So we take you different sessions and different topics within each section. So we divide it such that the main topics we actually take on our themobileprof.com main curriculum would break it down into really tiny bits, and they will take those small bits, 15 minutes every day, and it's completely free. So that's like taking a curriculum, because our normal curriculum is 80,000. That's like taking that curriculum and breaking it down such that you can enjoy the whole curriculum without paying any money. And you spend 15 minutes of every day learning one thing or the other related to Linux, related to system admin, related to DevOps, or anything that you actually is your career tech-wise, for that journey to start without you waiting to get a PC, or without you needing to be on a PC to be able to work on certain segments of your work. So why Linux, you may ask? Well, Linux is a secure operating system. It's more secure than Windows. So it's a great place to start. It's also light and fast. So what that means is that you have like devices like Androids, IoT devices running Linux. So you do not need so much computing power to be able to run Linux. And so it's more flexible, way more flexible than, for example, a Windows, because you can even strip out all the graphic user interface and you are left with only the terminal, and you are able to accomplish a lot of things using just the black screen of the Linux terminal. And then over 90% of the public cloud is Linux-based. Even Microsoft Azure, which is the cloud offering by Microsoft, on Azure, there are more Linux servers than there are Windows servers, which is amazing. And the record shows that 90% of public cloud runs on Linux. So what that means is that if you're a developer and you start developing on a Windows system, because as it is, most of us in Africa, we actually start our journey as developers on a PC. Most likely that PC has a Windows operating system, whether it's an older version or a newer version, because of the cost of the PC and of the license on that operating system. So we start from that journey, and then we build our first apps, usually web apps, on that platform. And then eventually we want to push to the internet. There are several cloud options on the internet. So you can get free hosting on Microsoft Azure. You can get free hosting on Google Cloud. You can get AWS free hosting for 12 months. You can get even Alibaba Cloud hosting and Huawei hosting on their cloud systems. Now, the thing about cloud systems is that if you are giving, most likely, when you are giving a cloud setting or a cloud system and you are setting it up, you're actually setting it up most likely on a terminal. So you set that thing, your server up on a terminal. You're about to do your application development and hosting. You need to put together a Linux server that perhaps has Apache as a web server, which is the most common use case for web servers, or Nginx for a web server. And you run your PHP or whatever other operating programming language you want to use on your server side. If you're a JavaScript person, most likely you'll be running Node.js. If you are a Python person, most likely you'll be running Python and maybe something, a lightweight framework like a Flask, maybe, on your web server. So all of this is dependent on the Linux server that you are setting up. By the time you connect to this free server that you've been given by these providers, you are facing a Linux system that doesn't have a graphic user interface. Most times, you would need to be able to figure out what commands to type to be able to manipulate your system or your server. The course we are going to take you through would give you the knowledge to be able to navigate a Linux black screen, a Linux command line interface, a Linux terminal. They're all the same thing, such that you can manipulate that server using the commands that you would learn from our classes. Then finally, why Linux? Because it's free. Linux is a free operating system. So what that means is that you can have a legal version of Linux completely free without paying any money. Ubuntu is free. We have free Debian OSs. We have CentOS, for example, that can also get at no cost. So the base operating system, which is Linux, is free. Sometimes you can have other, like an enterprise-grade operating system like a Red Hat, for example, that is built on the free Linux, but you now pay a certain service, a certain licensing fee for both the application itself and then the recurrent charges on it. But the base Linux and a lot of versions of Linux is free of charge. Then why mobile is especially cool for Africa? Why? Because Android is built on Linux kernel. So what that means is that the Android phone, which is ubiquitous in Africa, has an operating system that is Linux-based, that the same knowledge you get while working on the Android system is the same knowledge you require to work on a server. It's the same knowledge you require when you are transiting from your phone, for example, to a PC. So the same, because the same environment, the same Linux base, so your command will work on whatever devices you eventually use right now or in the future. Secondly, Africa has more mobile phones than PCs. For example, in Nigeria, the PC era kind of completely jumped us, and then we moved from PC to mobile phones immediately. So up till now, we still have less than 10% PC penetration. In fact, the last figure I saw was 4% PC penetration, which is a bit scary, because what that means is that all of the PCs that you see make up 4%. The implication of that is, as we have seen, because we've worked with a lot of tertiary institutions, as we've seen, a lot of people who are coming to learn computer-dependent courses, for example, like computer science, computer engineering, most of them do not have a PC to practice on. And so most of the knowledge you get from the universities is very theoretical. There is very rarely any chance for them to practice what they are learning, which is one of the challenges faced with doing computers in the university, for example. The third option is mobile phones are increasingly more powerful. So what that means is that you have mobile phones that have 8 gig of RAM, 16 gig of RAM mobile phones. Some of the mobile phones are faster than our PCs. So you are beginning to see a lot of power that a lot of applications that the mobile phone can run that it didn't used to be able to run before. So you have a lot of compute powers on your hands without needing a PC, for example. The only challenge will now be the screen real estate because the content that you're viewing or you're working on is relatively smaller than if you're working on a desktop system. But if your mobile is your only choice, for example, you do not have an alternative. If, for example, you cannot carry your PC home from the office, you also do not have an alternative. So many times you would have to work on the project you are doing from the office, you have to carry it to the mobile to continue working. With this knowledge, you're able to carry work home without logging around your laptop, and you know that you will finish the work by the next day because you are actually working while on your phone. Then fourth, mobile phones as thin clients for cloud services. Now, if there are some processes that you think that no matter how much the mobile phone might have, it wouldn't be able to run perhaps something that requires a 40 gig of memory, for example. Maybe you're running a machine learning algorithm and you're thinking, oh, this data set that you're pushing in, your mobile phone can handle it. Well, the mobile phone can be used as a thin client. Thank God for cloud services. So you can put up a server on the cloud, and then you run the main services on that cloud. So you only use your phone as a window to SSH into that server to initiate the process and to monitor and stop the process. So the computer that is actually doing the heavy lifting is not your phone. Your phone is just a window into that computer that is doing the heavy lifting. And you are just using your phone to connect to that computer. So over time, this is what our main curriculum is like. It's actually a 10 weeks project, but our curriculum is normally a 10 weeks program. But this program, 15 minutes with the mobile prof, will spread these 10 weeks into several weeks. So every week for us will be like 5 weeks of 15 minutes with the mobile prof. Every week will be like 5 weeks because every day's course will be stretched. Every day's course will be stretched because you're only doing 15 minutes of the course. So, so that is the introduction to the mobile prof. This is the last slide. So by tomorrow, we would consider how to install the software that we would need to run Linux terminals on our mobile phone. The software we will need to run Linux terminal on our mobile phone. So we'll do the installation together tomorrow, and then we would we'll do setup by next tomorrow. So thank you very much for attending the class. See you tomorrow. Samuel Anyeli. Thank you.